86th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select...
That's So Dolphins Talk with John Baker and Trigga Trey Proctor.
Let me check your pulse if you're not fired up.
Dude, are we good?
Dude, we're the best team in the league.
If you don't have eye black at home, you better go get some eye black.
Oh my god, we're back.
Hello and welcome into another edition of That's So Dolphins Talk. I'm myself, Johnny Bayshow, and the co-pilot Trigga Trey Proctor. And it's the primetime woes. We're fucking bullshit.
We are bullshit.
We are not bullshit.
We are bullshit. You are bullshit. You're fucking bullshit, man. I'm fucking bullshit. She's bullshit. It's all fucking nothing. Man, I'm telling you this because I know it, okay? We're nothing. Okay. Okay.
We can't.
Okay, John. We are not. Listen.
I do actually have some good things to say, though.
Yes, there are some good things to say. There's also one thing that I think we need to realize is that there is one offensive lineman on this team that this offense truly is affected by more than any other, and it's Connor Williams. Everyone has thought it was T. Steed, and at this point, I think everyone's gotten so used to playing without him that we found the ability to win without him. Without Connor Williams, this offense, like him from a polling standpoint, getting getting calls correctly, things of that nature. Connor Williams is so valuable to this team. Not having him is a huge loss. And I was a big Connor Williams hater early on in the season. Don't get me wrong. The snaps were awful. I couldn't deal with it. We both were, right?
Yep.
And as the game ended, the easiest thing to talk about is the officiating, right? It came out today and said, which seems kind of weird that it's just now being announced. Like, why is this person still officiating? But they were suspended from officiating an ACC game due to unethical officiating practices. Like, I feel like think about like doctors, think about lawyers, anyone who's caught doing something unethical tied around something this important where money's involved, where people's careers are involved. Like, how are you still officiating football games? But that's option one. That is outside noise that we can't control. What we can control, or what we also couldn't control, is ended up missing our three starting offensive linemen. I know Kendall Lamb has basically been a starter, so you could even say two. Isaiah Wynn's a huge loss. He's going to be out for a couple weeks. I don't know how he hurt his quad stepping on someone else's ankle.
I don't know either.
But, losing him early sucks. That was a lot of the pressure came right through Lester Cotton. Lester Cotton did not have a good game. A lot of the false start penalties came from Lester Cotton. He did not play well. So I'm hoping Robert Jones is going to be ready to go next week because Lester Cotton is not the answer. And please don't put Liam Eichenberg at guard if Connor comes back.
Well, that's what I'm afraid of. That's what I'm afraid that the alternative is that they're going to bump Liam from center to guard. I think that's a terrible move. I would rather see Rob Jones in there. Also, to note that, like, Lester Cotton played, like, late season last year. It didn't play bad. Like, I mean, it wasn't great by any means. It wasn't this bad, though.
We also will never see a D-line like that again until the Super Bowl when we play them. That's the best D-line in football. That's one of the best D-lines I've ever seen assembled.
I mean,
Hassan Reddick
was good,
but
Hassan Reddick, like, I don't understand what the game plan was to run right at his face the whole first half, but it was idiotic. I don't understand why they continued to just try to do it because, like, I would push back and say that the Jets and the depending on how healthy the Bills are, like, they are not quite that tier, but they're a step right under the Eagles D line. And like I would say the Jets D line is probably the closest thing we're going to see to the Eagles defensive line. And we got to see them 2 more times this year, which is good. But I don't understand the thought process. I don't understand the game plan of trying to run. I mean, it didn't help the fact that we got injured so early and things just went to shit after that on the line. But I don't know. We'll get into it in a little bit, but I guess my biggest takeaway is that though things were not going things that were out of the Dolphins' control on it during the game, it was still a one-score game with 5 minutes left to go. Like
We are driving. We are in high red zone, driving to tie the football game, and for the second straight play, the second straight time that they ran that play, that was the same play that Waddle had that big catch on. It's the exact same play. Him and Mostert weren't spaced correctly, and I don't understand. Like, how does that happen? And I don't know whose fault it is, but on top of that, it's clear and evident DPI, and they don't call it.
Well, that and they shouldn't have ever been in that position if Eichenberg wouldn't have literally snapped it right into his nutsack on first down and then snapped it straight into his shins on second down. Like, should never have been there. And
Right.
and then, like we've said this every single week on this pod, is that Tua will have two throws a game where he's going to do something that he probably shouldn't do. And up till this point, I mean, minus the Bills game, like those things didn't those things didn't hurt the Dolphins, and
Right.
that was the difference in the game. I felt like if we score there or get three there, there's a bit of a difference in that game, and yeah, you just can't let it. You can't let the officiating horrendous. Absolutely. I mean, I don't want to lean on that crutch, but
I will not listen. I will not. Here's the thing. From the coaching standpoint, I never lean on officiating because at the end of the day, it's our job to win a football game. It's not like, but when you have a stat that comes out that says in the last 10 years, there have been 17 games total, 10 years. That's 10 years times, how many games a week? Call it 18 games a week, 15 games a week in that range for 10 straight years.
yeah,
It's a lot of football games. There have been 17 total that a team has went without any penalties.
a full season's worth out of that 10 years.
Literally. That is absolutely bonkers. So this might be the one instance where I can say, like, again, we still had a chance to win the game. So that's why I'm not going to lean. Like, I'm not 90%, I'm not 100% saying the officials, or caused what happened, but they played a huge role. And there's not a single human being that can debate that. We got it. We had a couple ball don't lie moments. That face mask should have been called. Jerome Baker turned around and kicked their, fumble six, pick six, whatever it was. So, we had some of those that was nice.
Yeah.
Which we'll get into when we get to good, bad, and all that good stuff. Because there's some stuff we were just talking about last night. But, takeaways for me are this. We're in a one-score game with a Super Bowl contender on Primetime Football. Away in a very hostile environment with a lot of eyes on it. I'm anxious to see that's probably the most watched Sunday Night Football game this year, I bet, when that comes out. Mike McDaniel started out not being able to run the football and adapted, which we have not seen. And we started to run the football a lot better in the second half. So we were able to change our game plan while shuffling key offensive linemen out.
That is a positive. That's one of my big takeaways too.
Tyreek Hill drop touchdown pass. Probably never going to see that again the rest of the season. Tyreek Hill touchdown pass called back. Should not have been. Right? There's 3 or 4 plays that take out all the ticky-tack, all the stuff that should have been called, all the stuff that was called and should have been. There's 3 major plays that affected this game the most, in my opinion. It's Tua's interception that should have had DPI. It's Tyreek's touchdown being called back, and it's Tyreek dropping that ball as he's running into the end zone and hits off his knee. Like, those are things you aren't going to see, and we just happen to you're going to see, you might see one of them, you might see 2 of them. We had all 3 compiled into one game.
Yeah, and like I thought that I took this away from Orlovsky today whenever he said like those are things that don't happen to this. Like these are things that those are very routine things that the team. Like just on their night, like we literally just got beat by a better team. And what sucks is that this game felt very much like that 49ers game last year. How, we didn't really come out firing, but we had like that chance early, and then like they kind of got out to a lead and like we were just hanging around. But with like 5 minutes left, we had a chance to go and tie it, and we shit our pants.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I don't know. I just think that, those are my biggest takeaways. I would say is that, given all of things, is that, it was a 1-score game with 5 minutes left. Out
One
of
score game,
it,
with 5 minutes left.
very short-handed, and that's not an excuse either. Next man up, but still, like when you're going against Super Bowl like caliber team, like a team that will be there in January, February, like I mean, you're down that bad with injuries and you're still hanging in there. Like, I mean, that
It's a one. You're exactly. It's a one score, dude. Our rush defense against a team that can run the ball at will. Our rush defense was very, very good last night.
yeah,
David Long played out of his mind.
Yeah. So getting in, we'll just hop right into the good and the bad and the ugly.
Yeah.
I feel like for both of us. So here's my biggest takeaway. Number one, or my biggest good is that Vic Fangio brought, I don't know if this is just because he felt more comfortable going against an offense that he's like more familiar with being in the building there for a whole year or not, but
yeah,
he started mixing man. He was aggressively attacking the line of scrimmage. Like the run defense was there. This defense has not played. You can say they gave up 31 points, but that defense has not played that well, that aggressive, that on edge. They have not played like that all season. They haven't played like that since the Buffalo playoff game or even Buffalo game to like last year in the snow. Like that defense looked like the defense of old, and it felt like it didn't feel like the game was ever out of reach because it was like you always just knew that something was going to happen. Now, Chubb should have probably got that sack there on that 4th and 3. And, I have some thoughts on this tush push business too, but I really think a really big good for me is that Fangio called probably his best game of the season, and it looks like
I agree.
He's making strides.
I agree. Yeah, David Long is a good for me for sure. I thought he was fine. He was attacking the line of scrimmage. He was finding the right gaps. Him and hashtag Neckroll Baker both were able to make big time plays when it mattered. I thought that was Baker's definitely best game this year and one of the better games he's played in a Dolphins uniform. Again, we are, my dad said the other night that we are absolutely so critical of Jerome Baker, and I still think we should be. But I think his ability to find run gaps and fill holes as needed last night was the best that he's looked. Both our linebackers played well. D-line, I thought it felt like we were getting pressure almost every night against a very mobile quarterback. We flushed him out of the pocket a lot. We had some holding calls that should have been called. Lane Johnson got a quick start every single play that no one wants to talk about, but
if he wasn't jumping, Malata, is that how you say? I think that's how.
Malata, whatever his name is. Yeah,
they were both jumping before the ball was snapped every single play, and like even objectively, I even like went to a different chat and I was like, "Am I like blind here? Like, or is this happening?" And even a Steelers fan jumped in, was like, "Yeah, like they're obviously jumping every play," and like,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to jump. I'm now we're just going back on everything we said. We're going back to the officiating, but
I'm not. Listen, we lost a football game, but we can't like everyone's eyes saw it. When you have national media coming out and saying things, it's different than a bunch of Homer fans saying, "Oh man, the refs screwed us." Like there's national media pundits coming out saying, "What is going on?" Like there's clearly something afoot with this football game. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they just wanted to keep the Eagle hype train. I don't know if the NFC is down, so they want to make sure that they have a solid contender that they can push. I don't care. It doesn't matter. But what? Back to my goods. D-line, David Long, Jerome Baker, and I thought in terms of our offensive line, there were times where we stonewalled them. And offensive line in the second half really seemed to come together from a run game standpoint. I thought that was super important. And I thought we were able to adapt, like I said earlier, to change our playing calling a bit. And Jalen Waddle, was able to make some plays, which is nice to see. So those would be my good.
Yeah, I have one more good. and I think I'm going to piggyback off what you said about McDaniel, is that what they did in the second half that was a really interesting adjustment was they brought Ingold into like that pistol formation, like right beside Tua, and he was an extra blocker, which I thought was very interesting and good. It was just a very smart play, and I thought that like that it was really interesting. And Ingold is, I feel like he's invaluable to this team, and as much as as bad as we talked about Connor Williams wanting to be paid over the offseason and was gonna sit out, and we were like, this dude ain't worth it. I would very much argue in favor that he is worth a big contract, and I would rather give the money to Williams than Wilkins.
That was good. I'm gonna slide into my bad. I know I praised the D line, mainly speaking of the edge, and Raekwon Davis played well, and Steeler was Steeler. Christian Wilkins continues to be a no-show in games that matter. How can you go out and, I shouldn't say games that matter, every games matter, but against teams that are really able to game plan against him, he is a non-factor. How can you line up offsides that many times in front of the football as a professional athlete? On top of that,
literally like within a pinky's reach, and he's offsides. Like, how do you not see that?
And how, from a coaching standpoint, are you not chewing his ass every time he comes to the sidelines? I understand that he has a motor like anyone else, but like, you can't continue to hurt this football team in that fashion. I understand that roughing the passer should have been called, but it clearly wasn't necessary. Like, I'm not even going to defend that. I don't think it should have been called. Dean Blandino, whatever the hell his name is, came on and said it shouldn't have been called. I agree it should have been called. Same time, it's not. It's like in baseball, as I'm watching the Phillies. If it's a 3-2 count or a 2-strike count, yeah, there might be some pitches that are balls that are called strikes because they're too close to not swing at.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Christian Wilkins. He knew he wasn't getting a sack. He's just, and I get it. It's worked for him. He gets in people's heads. He does it to Josh Allen. He gives them late shoves, tries to get them riled up. I understand what he's doing, but he has to understand situational football from a penalty standpoint, and he seems to just not have that ability.
Yeah. The bad for me.
Sorry. Let me finish my bad real quick.
Okay.
Our punter can dog walk his ass out of our building because he's awful. I don't care if he had, one good punt. He has 4 that aren't good. He's a liability, and that will hurt us. And Eli Apple and Kader Kohu, all I can say is Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard, please come back. I'm hoping Jalen plays this week. I think we'll get into that as we talk, for next week. But, we need Jalen Ramsey back. We need Xavier Howard back. We need Nick Needham back.
Yeah.
Javon Holland in the concussion protocol, bad. Self-reporting symptoms, bad.
Real bad.
The unaffiliated neuro consultant clearing him and then him having symptoms in the morning, bad. Like,
yeah.
Put this into perspective real quick. Sorry. Before, I'll let you get to your bad here in a second. That's what I want to think about this. David Long and Javon Holland knock each other out. They run into each other. David Long is put into concussion protocol, but clears it today and is good to play next week. Javon Holland is cleared to play in the game, but is now in concussion protocol today and probably won't play next week. Does that make sense? Am I like, how is that possible? How is it?
Any sense?
I just don't. I just, some of these things are just so perplexing to me. I don't know how it happens. I still think, having David Long is, you could argue which one's more important, but again, no Javon Holland's bad. Regardless of his play this year not being what we've expected of years past, he's still a focal point of the defense, I think. So that's a bad for me.
Yeah, the bad for me is I didn't think that Kohu played bad. I just think he had a really bad matchup. Like, if I would have played that on Devonta Smith, I probably would have been okay with it. But like, I don't know. It's Eli Apple is not the answer. From what I'm understanding too, is that Cam Smith is a behavioral problem. From what I
did not see that. So this is news to me.
Having some behavioral issues, like with like on the team, and I don't know if I could just be reckless speculating right now, but he had some issues, and like that was one of the reasons why he fell in the draft, and it must be carrying over. So I don't know if that's true. That's what I heard. That could just be some reckless bullshit that I just put out there. And
Who's your sauces?
um oh gosh, I saw it on Twitter, and I feel like I heard it talked somewhere today. I could be totally off base though, but I did hear about it. I read it on Twitter. I can't remember who it was. I forgot to send it to you. That was a problem. But that seems to be a little bit of an issue. Like to not even put him out on the field at all, felt pretty stupid. But yeah, the bad is just Eli Apple, man. He has no effort. If he doesn't initially make the tackle or they're just out of arm's reach, like he's just given up, and we just got to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the bad, I mean, Liam Eichenberg, I feel like we don't need to reiterate that. But yeah, it's not good.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then my ugly is I'm pushing I'm Dan Bailey or Jake Bailey. I'm pushing him the whole way to the ugly because you can't have a 34-yard punt in the NFL. Like, it's not. The whole special teams thing is a liability. It makes me nervous.
Yeah. I mean, Jason Sanders at least made a field goal in a windy environment, so that was nice to see.
That was
Um, ugly for me, and I want this to hopefully I wanted to make this the thumbnail of the video. Nick Sirianni has the most punchable face known to man. I can't stand him. Um, he is a pompous jackass. I've never seen a coach act like that. The way he like celebrates with the officials, like I'm all for celebrating with your team, but when you're peacocking up and down the sideline with
yeah.
childbearing hips, trying to stare people down, no
But
one is worried about you. And like you want to giggle about your tush push. Okay, man, I get it. Like you have a quarterback that can squat 600 pounds. Cool. Like really good to see that you can get 1 yard in the NFL. You know, I'm proud of you. You're a clown, Nick Sirianni. I know you'll never hear this video. Hopefully, somehow one of your family members finds this and sends this to you. You are an absolute asshat. Cannot stand Nick Sirianni. Number one, my ugly, my true ugly in terms of Dolphins football. Has got to be. It pains me to say this. Jeff Wilson might be useless on this team. He
yeah,
he and let me even double back on that. Savon Ahmed and Jeff Wilson.
That was Ahmed's worst game he's ever played in a Finns uniform. That was
bad. I'm gonna put him in ugly and not put him on the Uber right now, which we might have to make a segment. We have to go good, bad, ugly Uber because he's not Ubered out of town yet.
Good, bad Uber.
Yeah, good, bad. No, good, bad, ugly because ugly means you're on the cusp of being Ubered. But if you get from ugly to Uber, then get off this team. Jeff Wilson, Savon Ahmed, and basically running back depth at this point outside of Mostert and Achane, problem. Ugly.
Not good.
Not good.
Yeah. Stock up, stock down. I think that the big stock up, I think, is just I'm gonna put stock up on the coaching staff because McDaniel made adjustments, and he did make adjustments, and he was dealt a shit hand on the offensive line with that. Fangio put together a really good defensive plan, I felt like. It's just that we didn't have the people on the back end to cover. Like if we would have had X, I feel like I really feel like too if we had Ramsey, but we didn't. And so they beat us with Eli Apple and Kader Kohu, and I feel like that sucks. But I feel like we put together a really good plan. The D line and the linebacking core showed up, and yeah, I don't know what there isn't a lot of good, I mean, I feel like there are some good stuff, but that's definitely the stock up for me.
Yeah, I would agree. Stock up is obviously neck roll Baker. I hope he wears neck roll the rest of his life. I hope he goes one step further and puts the jersey up over the neck roll. I want him to look full turtle out there.
Ooh.
And if he puts the jersey up over the neck roll, I might buy a neck roll and a Baker jersey and wear it just like he does. He's definitely stock up for me. David Long, stock up for me. Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb, I thought both played pretty well. One more ugly. Our tackling's dog shit. We don't need to talk about that, but everyone knows we talk about it every single week. Our tackling is absolutely atrocious.
Not good.
I would rather put my dog out on the field to tackle than watch some of our defensive backs try and tackle a ball carrier. But I digress. Back into the stock up. Again, David Long, Jerome Baker. It's hard not to put Jason Sanders in there for me because he, was able to make a field goal. It was 40 yards, windy conditions. We've seen a lot of missed field goals yesterday in the NFL, especially in the Northeast area. So it's good to see him, be able to deliver on that. And hopefully that helps build some momentum. Stock down for me, I think the secondary as a whole right now is stock down, but it's hard to really judge them until we have a full complement of players. Of all of our position groups, I think that's the one that has the most reinforcements coming. Bringing Jalen and Nick Needham back onto this defense, I think it's going to be super special. Stock down for me, Van Ginkel. He was quiet last night.
Very quiet.
Did not tackle well. I don't know. I didn't like. He just seemed non-existent. You're gonna kill me for saying this, but I have to go stock down with Tua. I'm a big Tua fan. Obviously, I'm a huge Tua fan. But it just seems like last night, there were a couple of times where he had an opportunity to kind of be a killer, and he just did not deliver. And that's going to happen. It's not the end of the world. I'm not saying obviously Tua is not the guy. Tua is a god. Like he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion. But when you have a matchup like that, Sunday Night Football against your Alabama counterpart, who you like, I understand that they don't probably look at outside noise like most fans do, but that's one where you want to shut a lot of people up with your play. And it just seemed like whether it be again, I know the offensive line, I know we had drops, I know Waddle missed half the game. But I just felt like he didn't bring up the rest of his team like I was hoping.
I'll say outside, I feel like Tua played as expected. Given like the amount of pressure he was faced with, and at sometimes whenever they were stonewalled, he was great. But my biggest worry with Tua from this year, it's his ability to. It feels like when the first and second isn't there, he has to go to a third, and he panics because he knows he doesn't have a lot of time left, and that seems to be like when we play these elite defenses, they're taking away 1 or they're taking away 2, and then he's got to go to 3, and then that's when we get into trouble. And I feel like last night he did not want to throw that ball to. I don't think he wanted to throw that ball, but he didn't have for some reason he just started the hero ball, and I thought Tua played great, and I thought
that strike to Tyreek that was called back was disgusting. That fade ball was disgusting.
That ball that he threw, 2 of those balls that he threw to Wilson, especially that one across the field, that thing was on a rope.
Yeah, and that back shoulder off of our read action wheel that we run, that's our bread and butter play. That back shoulder to Wilson, he's a receiver who probably doesn't get a lot of time with. So, that's a huge moment in that game on 3rd and 18 or whatever the hell it was. It was something crazy. But I understand. Tua, I'm not saying but from what we've seen weeks prior, he's got to be stocked down for me because he did he's someone that you want to see rise to the occasion and deliver. And he had the opportunity to deliver. And for what, whether it's his fault, the O-line's fault, he's a quarterback of this football team. You'd like to see him find a way to win that game, or at least tie it with a chance to do it.
Yeah.
It's a mistake we've seen Justin Herbert make every single week, who's 27 and 28 as a starter, but no one wants to talk about it. But he looks big arm, throws far. Josh Allen, big arm, accuracy. Big arm. That's all that matters, right? It's NFL quarterback, big arm.
Stock down for me, it's Eli Apple. Like I was actually kind of excited when we signed Eli Apple because I thought it would be a good veteran presence. I just wasn't anticipating the fact that that he would be number 1 option for a game. I didn't think that would be a possibility. I thought he'd be a great 3rd option, maybe 4th. But he's turned into like the biggest option and the biggest liability, and stock down on him. especially whenever you run over to Rodney Harrison before the game and Rodney Harrison says on television it's going to be an Eli night, and then that happens. Yeah, so not a good look. Um,
Imagine looking at your schedule as an NFL receiver, and when you see you play the Dolphins, you're penciling in Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard, and you walk into Cater Kohu and Eli Apple.
yeah, yeah. I'm honestly surprised that like they didn't throw for 390 last night. Like,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I mean, we've already exhausted the downs other than Eichenberg. I don't want to see any more Eichenberg. Another good night from I want to also, before we move on, I want to highlight another good night from Austin Jackson. I felt like he played really good again.
Oh yeah.
I
No,
felt
I
like
agree.
I felt like the right side played very well again. Like Rob Hunt and Austin Jackson, they're not liabilities at this point in the season. And
No, I love Rob Hunt and
they're
Austin Jackson.
they're continuing to trend upward, and like sky's the limit for that side of the line.
Yep.
We got to get the middle and T-Stead healthy.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we're moving on to the next week's game, and it's the Patriots. It's at home. It's a 1:00 game. Patriots are coming off a big upset against the Bills. Do we call that an upset? I would guess so, yeah. For what watching, I had that game on, and it felt like that. Those are the things that I wish that the Dolphins could do to the Bills, and they didn't do that.
It doesn't make any sense. The NFL makes absolutely no sense. I mean, this is what's going to happen. The Patriots are going to walk into Hard Rock and they're going to lose by 21 after they beat the Bills last week. That's exactly what's going to happen.
Oh wow! I don't think. Well, I don't know. I'm hoping
we're going to have them in their dark blue jerseys, freaking just dying on the sidelines. Mac Jones is awful. Our D line's going to eat. Like we're winning by 21. Mark it, book it, thumbnail it. But I think that what I want to see is, and this is, I think, the most important thing for Tua and company is how do we respond? Do we go back to continually beating the teams we need to beat? And do we make sure that we don't look ahead into the Kansas City game, which I feel, in my opinion, outside of the Bills at the end of the year, I think this Kansas City game is one I would consider must win and the biggest game of the year. I understand the Eagles are the Eagles. It's on Sunday Night Football. It was a super hype game. At the end of the day, in a week that the Bills also lost, which is a plus, it's an NFC opponent that affects zero with playoff seeding. It's one you want to win for team momentum, but it's one you don't really need to win. That's not going to affect your season. I want to see how we respond, and we're at home after this loss.
Yeah, the Patriots game is it's a trap game for sure. This is the trap game of the year. And if you do not show up and you lose to the Patriots, you're going to go to Germany, and you do not want to lose that. Like that, if this team wants to be real and they want to be realistic in expectations, and the expectations for me is a minimum, last year we got to a wild card round. Now let's win a wild card game. Let's get the divisional round. I don't want to get ahead of myself, because I don't think that they're not playing like a Super Bowl team. They haven't played like a Super Bowl team. They haven't shown.
Well, we have, and we also
they have pieces to be a Super Bowl team. They haven't put it all together. We haven't seen the best Dolphins yet, and I think that's correct. A good takeaway too.
Correct. We have not seen the best Dolphins yet. My dog keeps knocking my camera over. Sorry. We have not seen the best Dolphins yet. We have a ton of reinforcements coming. And, I think that's going to be a huge help. I feel really bad for the Raiders, which it seems like we're going to get T-Steed and A-Chain back at the Raiders, which is, I think, huge.
Yeah.
But, I think I'm not going to look ahead to the Chiefs, but, going into the bye 7-2 feels like, if we're 7-2, that would have been huge.
That's exactly what you want. That's exactly what you want. And I'm not going to complain about that at all.
And 6-3 with your 3 losses.
I can't even complain about being 5-2. I've never seen a 5-2 Dolphins. Just like I'll probably see if they lose this, or if they win this week, I've never seen a 6-2 Dolphins, and I've never seen a 6-3 Dolphins. Maybe I have seen a 6-3 Dolphins, but I haven't. The way we take care of business, and then I don't even want to talk about the Chiefs either, because that's a whole nother. But I don't want this team to be thinking about, man, we lost. We got to The focus should be we got to beat the living shit out of the Patriots this week. We gotta make a statement, and we're not looking ahead to Kansas City.
That's why I think a lot of
Because
people are saying save Jalen Ramsey for the Chiefs. I think him coming back this week, which seems to be a real possibility, is more important than saving him for the Chiefs because
absolutely,
he
he needs to get his legs under him if he's going to play the Chiefs.
well,
Want him,
not only that, but think of the momentum boost he brings to this team being in pads, dude.
yeah,
Like that is something that gets you out of a trap game, having Jalen Ramsey line up for your football team for the first time.
yes,
That's huge. Like you see him on the sidelines talking shit to fans. Like that's the energy we're missing right now on the defense. It doesn't seem we have that. I mean, Christian Wilkin runs his mouth, but he shrinks when we need him.
he's not hyping the rest of the defense. He's hyping himself.
Correct. Jalen Ramsey is going to be someone that if he plays, I think turns what could be a trap game into a dominating win for the Dolphins if we're able to get Jalen Ramsey back on the field. Hoping to see Connor Williams back. Sounds, I haven't seen anything on him yet. I didn't see what Mike said about him. Sounds like, oh shit. One thing we didn't get into, Isaiah Wynn being hurt sucks, man.
Isaiah Wynn does hurt. It's not. It hurts a lot.
I mean, I'm hoping Greer's hitting the phones for some O-line help. I really think it's like that's going to be important depth, even if it's a depth signing, because I don't really want to
body an able body that won't be offsides or false start and that can just block somebody better than a turn.
So, I mean, I'm hoping we're getting Jalen back. I'm hoping we get Connor Williams back. I'm hoping Lester Cotton / Robert Jones gets their legs under them at that left guard spot. I'm hoping it's not Liam Eichenberg at that left guard spot. Probably going to be Liam Eichenberg at that left guard spot. But yeah, I mean, let's just hope that we are able to be a divisional opponent and continue to stay at the top of the AFC East.
Yeah. So, all right. Well.
Oh, you want to talk about Hard Knocks?
Yeah. The Dolphins are going to be in the in-season. They're going to be the in-season team for Hard Knocks, or that's going to be on HBO. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. I'm hoping that's not a distraction. I don't think it should be, but it'll be interesting to see the inside the building right now.
I think as much, and I think the distraction, not in my opinion, because of how much social media teams are involved with posting videos, and there seems to be always cameras around anyway. I don't see that as a distraction. If anything, I'm hoping that it kind of gives us a little mid-season boost, right? It's kind of cool to see yourself on Hard Knocks. I'm hoping some of the players kind of involved. I think it'll be good to see some of the, maybe the guys that don't get as much pub. Obviously, Tua and Tyreek and a lot of these guys get a lot of pub. I think it'd be cool to see more, from Javon Holland, more from David Long, Jerome. Like, I'm excited to see some of that stuff, and it keeps us interesting through the season. But yeah, it sounds like they're going to start filming after Germany. Sounds like, and it'll carry to the end of the season. So hopefully, we have a Hard Knocks Super Bowl.
Yeah. All right. Super excited for that. So be looking out for that. And we got the Finns versus the Pats on Sunday. So with that, we will see you next week on That So Dolphins Talk.
Ends up.